Hey there, fellow marketers, Professor Walters here, and today we're going to talk about is why products fail. Because there's a lot of reasons why a product might fail, and we're going to go through a few of them and give you some examples of product failures that you think, why did that fail? I thought it would be a total success. And so we're going to talk about that. And one of the big things I see is one of those failures is really you overestimate the size of the market. When I talk to companies, they're like, oh, everybody could use this product. Everybody's going to want to have the old school Nintendo system. Maybe not. Maybe not everybody wants to play 8-bit games. Some people want to just sit there and play Fortnite all the time. I mean, I got my kids to play the old school Nintendo games for about 10 minutes before they go, Dad, can we play Minecraft? I'm like, Minecraft's got worse graphics than this. What are you talking about? They wanted to switch. So you might overestimate your market thinking that people really want to use it when it's not always there. I know in some places you might see overdevelopment. In the south of Spain, in the early 2000s, they had a huge building of retirement communities and villages for people, and they thought, oh, people are going to move to Spain to retire, and they overestimate that size of the market. Not everybody moved from the UK and Germany to retire in Spain, and so that kind of failed. Another reason why you might see new products fail is sometimes it's just poor design. Look, if something looks like garbage, are you going to buy it? I mean, think about it. If the food looks nasty, are you going to buy that? Ooh, no. You got to make it look good. That's why presentation is success. Now, the thing is, sometimes you'll see things that you think will be successful, but there might be a part of the product design that is a failure. So, for example, I'm really bashing on this Nintendo system because it took me forever to get it, but I got one. And the thing is, it comes with 2 controllers. The only problem is the controllers are about this far. They're about 3 feet. Now, how many of you like to play video games this close up? Okay, maybe you do, but it looks really weird, okay? And when it's got really bad graphics, you want to be farther away because then you don't notice how bad it is. Can't play it that way, right? So you got to like play this when you try to hold your things out. So a bad design can really ruin a product. Another thing you might look at is incorrect positioning. I mean, sometimes you sell something as a luxury good and it doesn't really work that way. Like this, if you sold the retro Nintendo Entertainment System, oh, I'm selling as vintage. Go pack and play the games you played as a kid. If I sell it that way, it works really well. But if I position it as, hey, if you can't afford to get an Xbox, grab this. Yeah, if I'm going for an Xbox, like One S, whatever, 19, I'm not really going back to the 8-bit stuff, right? So we might position it in the wrong way. So you want to make sure when you're developing your products, position in a way that's really going to work. That's why when this Nintendo Entertainment System, the retro thing came out, it was retro gaming. Ah, great, right positioning for that. Also, when it came out, that was perfect timing. Another thing that can happen is sometimes products fail just because of bad timing. So for example, I was releasing a Walters World Britain shirt in March of 2020. So how do you think Walters World travel gear did in March, April, May, June of 2020? Bad timing. No one's traveling with COVID and the coronavirus. People are like, look, we're not going anywhere. And then all the travel stuff crashed. And so sometimes it's just bad timing. I mean, there's movies. I mean, think about Onward. I don't know if any of you ever saw the movie Onward. Fantastic movie, but it's the worst performing, Pixar movie ever, or one of the worst ones ever. It's not a bad movie, it came out right before COVID, and so then they had to take it out of the movie theaters. Sometimes it's just timing. That's why it's important to look and see, when is it going to be a success? Do I want to go up against a James Bond movie or another Pixar movie or something else? Your timing becomes important. Another thing you might look at is pricing. Sometimes you just have incorrect pricing. The price might be too high. Or it might be so low that people go, I don't know. I mean, a Mercedes for $20,000? Did it fall off the back of a truck or something? Like, I don't know about this. The pricing does matter on stuff in people's perspective, so you might price it wrong. Another thing you might look at is ineffective promotion. If people don't know that the product's out there, does it even exist? It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? Well, yes, it makes a sound. And also, your product is still out there, but if people don't know it, it's not a success. I know for me, when my kids were little, every time the circus came to where I live, I would only find out about it when they were taking it down from the Sam's Club parking lot. I'm like, oh, why didn't I know? Ineffective promotion. Okay, so that's why you make sure if you have something out there, get the word out to help it have a chance to succeed. Now, another thing that could make for a product failure is sometimes management influence. The managers want things to succeed, but sometimes they might not have their fingers on the pulse of the clients. They just think this will work great. And there are tons of stories of products that failed and movies that failed because the executives got involved. Way back in the day, there was an old Spider-Man 3 movie that they said, oh, we've got Spider-Man and we'll put Venom in there, we'll put Sandman in there, we'll put another Green Goblin in there. Like, whoa, dude, that's a lot of stuff in one movie, you know? And it was just too much. And so the management decisions, the management influence actually had it fail. So that can be an issue. Another thing you want to look at that could cause product failure is sometimes you have a successful product, but it just costs too much to get it started. And so those development costs just make it so, look, unless we sell 1 million units, we're not going to make money. So some movies have made $500 million at the box office, and they're still considered a failure. Why? Because like Justice League made $500 million worldwide, but it cost them probably $500 million to make with reshoots and marketing and all that. And you're like, oh. Because failure, it really is like, it's on a scale. You know, it's really relative to what you're going for, because making $20 million on a movie that only cost $15,000 to make is a huge success. But making $500 million on a movie that costs you $500 million to make, that can be a problem. Okay. Now, another thing that might hurt you is sometimes your competition might come out. Like I remember before the iPad came out, there was a lot of different tablets out there and you had a lot of different options. And then the iPad came out and just wiped everybody out. They all failed. Like everybody failed. It was amazing. Now you've seen there's all kinds of different tablets out there, but at the time, that competition was so much better, you had no choice. It's kind of like, you know, when Sega saw the PlayStations coming out, the PlayStation 2 and all this kind of stuff, they're like, look, we're out. We got no chance. We can't beat this competition. Sometimes you fail like that. I mean, you think about it in sports. You know, they call the Utah Jazz a failure because they could never beat the Bulls back in the day. And then they call, LeBron, well, he was a failure because he lost all those championships, only won a few. It's like, dude, he still got there. He still was a success, but the competition, Golden State, you know, lost to them and stuff like that. It's hard to beat that kind of team, right? So sometimes, no matter how good your product is or how good your player is, sometimes the competition is just too much, okay? Now, LeBron went through and got a few championships, so good, you know, he's not a failure. But you see what I'm trying to say is sometimes there's things out of your control that will make your product fail. Now, one thing you can do and try to eliminate a failure, but one thing I see is when there's no real difference between your product and an existing product. You know, it's like we have a Big Mac, you know, bun, burger, bun, right? So if you have another burger that lists bun, burger, bun, oh, it's their Big Mac. Well, the thing is, if I want a Big Mac, I'm going to go to McDonald's for a Big Mac. I'm not going to go someplace else to get that sandwich, right? It's kind of like if I want a Baconator from Wendy's, right? I go to Wendy's for a Baconator. I don't go to McDonald's for a bacon cheeseburger, Hardee's, or Burger King. Well, I go there. I want cheese curds. Well, if I want cheese curds, I go to Culver's because that's what they are. Yes, other people have cheese curds, but it's not the same. You got to make sure you're distinguishing yourself from your competition. If you don't do that, it's a ticket to failure. Another thing you might look at is sometimes the product is poorly made. I mean, how many of you, when you were kids, would you go to the dollar store with your parents, you get a toy there and it like would break the first day or the second day? You weren't too surprised. So you're like, you know what? Maybe I save my couple bucks and we just keep saving up and then I get a toy that's going to last longer, like from Hasbro or something like that, versus the dollar store things because it just doesn't have the quality in it. That can be a problem. That can be a ticket to failure. Other things you might look at is sometimes a product may fail because it doesn't deliver on the promises. How many of you have been up late at night and those infomercials come on? You too can gain the fantastic form. You too can have big muscles, and lose weight and all this kind of stuff. And then you do it and you're like, I didn't lose weight. It didn't work. Well, the thing is, if you see that your product isn't delivering, you got to make sure you have customer compliance, right? We talked about this in another video, but you got to make sure that customers understand what they need to do in order for this to be a success. That's why it's like, well, you've got to do our 90-day workout program and do our 90-day diet program, and then you'll see your ticket to success. They're doing that to help people understand it, because otherwise people are like, look, I did all the exercise stuff, but my body didn't change in those before and after videos. Oh, well, you didn't do the diet as well. So sometimes you got to see is why isn't it delivering? And sometimes if you overpromise on things, people are going to be upset. You can't promise, this is the greatest movie ever, and it's just okay. It's not going to go well. Like Star Wars can't be here. Star Wars always has to be here. Marvel movies always have to be here. People are expecting that. So even if it's a Marvel movie and it's only good, you're like, oh, what's wrong with that? Like, it's got to be great, okay? So you kind of think about those things. So another thing I want to look at is the price-quality ratio. It's kind of like, a product at McDonald's. If there's a burger that's expensive at McDonald's, like your mind sometimes like McDonald's, fancy burgers, it doesn't make sense. Why would I pay all that money for a burger at McDonald's when I can go to a bar and get a burger at that price? I'm kind of confused. And that's the thing is sometimes people have this perception. It's like, look, if you're going to charge me this much, I expect the quality to be up here. Or if your brand is perceived to be a cheap brand and you try to do something nicer, people don't always accept it right away. That's why you see some companies, they have a long-term brand strategy to build up the perception of their brand. So it actually, maybe not this year or next year, but you know what? We start offering slightly nicer products, slightly more expensive stuff. So over a 3-year, 4-year term, people are not really shocked if there's a higher priced burger at McDonald's or some other place. And also that goes to the quality level. When you walk into certain fast food joints, I'm like, look, when I go to Culver's, and you all know I love my Culver's, I walk in, it's clean, the place is nice, like, how are you? They bring the food to my place, they offer stuff, do you need some ketchup, some stuff, you want a refill? They're so nice, so I don't mind paying more because I'm expecting to pay more with all that extra service. And so if you're not kind of aligning the price and the quality or the level of service and the price, these kind of differences, that might be a ticket to failure as well. And the thing is, there's lots of different reasons why companies can fail. These are just some of the ones that I want to talk about. I mean, one thing you might look at is sometimes you just sell it in the wrong spot. Think about it. If you're coming with a high-end, super high-tech gadget, when it first comes out, if you sell it at Walmart and Aldi, do people really think high-tech, new wave inventions at Walmart and Aldi? Or are they thinking about, oh, that should be at Best Buy? Or if it's like a fancy new mobile phone, do you expect that at AT&T or Vodafone or T-Mobile, one of those fancy phone companies, right? You expect it there. So sometimes you just really have to look, where are we going to sell it? Because you sell it the wrong spot, that can also be a ticket to failure. So these are just some ideas and some kind of thoughts I have and other things you'll see out there about why products fail. We actually have another video that talks about some famous product failures that you'll enjoy. So check out that video as well. But I wish you all the best, and hopefully your new products don't fail, and this video helps you understand some of the reasons why other ones did so yours don't. So I wish you all the best, and I'll say bye.